the Rift. The place where you kill, get killed,
Jesus Christ.
get killed by the clock, apparently. And where you have to build everything up all over again every time you die in one of these ways. But is it fun? If you ask me, it's more than fun, it's amazing. There are loads of different enemies to kill, and you can do a lot of practice in here for the main game, and just try to get as far as possible. And because you don't get any free items or such to work with, you're really required to use your actual ultimate VR gamer skills to make it as far as you can. But it can be difficult to kind of get good at this stuff, so that's why I'm here to help you today. With both getting better and, of course, the important thing about gaming, having the most fun possible. 2 small notes. First, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment section down below. And second, for these Rift runs, I will only be using the Abraxas gear, like the gear you start with, because it avoids all spoilers, and I also just really like to play that kit. With this kit, you start with a shield, sword, and an axe, which is pretty nice, and they all have some pretty interesting things you can do with them. For example, the shield doesn't only serve as a shield, but if you hold the trigger button while you hold the shield in your hand, some nasty spikes will come out and you can start hitting people with it. The axe, secondly, can of course be thrown and called back, but if you hold the trigger button as soon as you throw the axe and it is in midair, you will see that it stops, and you can then give your hand a swing to yeet it in basically any other direction. This is extremely useful when there are like a lot of scorpions and bee wasp thingies to just bounce it back and forth into their face constantly. It's also extremely fidgety to do, by the way. I do this almost literally every time I finish a Rift run. Literally. It's actually that bad. As for the sword, it can obviously be turned into a whip, which you can not only pull yourself with to both poles and enemies, but also grip some of the stupid flying insects and pull them to the ground. Or you can grip your shield and turn it into a frickin' Beyblade of death, which I'll come back to later. Then it's time to go cook some bad boys. We of course have the lizards, and they might seem simple, but they can already get quite complicated, but don't worry about it. Because while you get better at fighting basically any enemy, you'll also get better at fighting the lizards, so don't worry too much about them, just try to cut them in half. Literally. These stupid insect-like creatures are super easy to kill with range attacks. Just spam throw your axe into them, and if they're on longer range, you can bounce the axe up and down as well to keep slapping it in their face. We also have some funny guys with bows and some even more funny guys with shields. The bows have some similar patterns, surprisingly, because the shield guy likes to throw his shield and the archer likes to shoot at you. With both, if you just reflect their projectile back, they'll drop to their knees and allow you for a very easy charge at them and finish them off. The flying enemies have some very insane weakness, where you just grab them with the whip and then pull them down so they instantly fall to the ground. You can either follow this up by a melee attack for most likely an insta-kill, because they will just stay there lying on the ground like, I don't know, they need a bedtime or something. Alternatively, if you're really busy, just whip them down and deal with them later. It at least stuns them for a little while so they can't buff their own allies or start healing them. Sometimes you will also face these armored lizards. Those are extremely annoying because they have this blue bar and a ton of HP. So it might be better to first get rid of all the enemies around you before you face these guys, because they're not necessarily so deadly, they're just tough as rocks. and you can hit on it as much as you want, but it will do like close to no damage. Instead, you'll have to hit them while they are dropped to their knees by, for example, a projectile reflected back to them, or actually the easier way, when they try to do a heavy attack, hit them in the weak point and their shield will crack instantly. But even if you do break their blue bar, it's still pretty annoying because they have a shield. And well, the easy strat here I always use is whenever they try to attack me and they put their shield away and lift their weapon, you just dash forward while holding your shield in front of you, which will shield bash them. Most likely turning into them at least falling back a bit, but sometimes even dropping to the ground completely, allowing you for an easy free hit. And once you're on a roll and you start actually making it through a couple waves, you will see a couple things happening. First of all, you will find totems every now and then. I personally always forget to use these things, and I think I'm not alone on it, and that's because it's really hard and annoying to grab them out of your belt. But if you can manage to do it, it's actually pretty darn strong. Just try to hold up your shield with your left arm, then press the analog stick on that same controller, and then use your right arm to point at one of the totems and pick one out. Preferably, I like to use the monkey, which will distract enemies. The well that sucks enemies in and then stuns them, allowing you to break any blue armor bars for free. The healing totem is also pretty nice, especially post-fight when you're done. Just throw it on the ground, start healing, and take out your whip to go on a bit of a yoinking spree, if you know what I mean.
Yoink! 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 Yoink!
Second, you will find these interesting wells that you can throw your stuff in to send it to your main campaign. This is basically the only way to let the rift interact with your normal game. And it's actually a pretty good one too, as the loot you can get from the rift is pretty darn insane. The treasures giving you gold are good on their own, but the resources like copper, for example, are amazing, I feel like. So try to judge what items to put in when there's not enough space, because you can also see when you point at your items, it will show you how much it weighs. So try to spread it evenly, and usually I'd like to send the treasures first, because they're often very lightweighted, like 2% or something, but also because they're just worth a lot of money in the game. By this time you probably have a good couple of skill points earned, which you can spend like in the normal game. You will have to do this again every time you start a new rift run though, so keep it in mind. But there are some interesting upgrades to do, which are the heroics. I personally really appreciate the Beyblade shield I talked about earlier, where you pull your shield up when it's lying on the ground and it literally just kills everything. Every single time. You see that crafting table full of varying funny content? I know you want to click it. Just do it. Wait, you're still hanging around here? Well, I'm gonna end the video then.